Now, what I want to do in my opening remarks is to put the proposal for the launch of a Heartland Development Bank in this somewhat larger context of a housing and credit bubble and the shifting nature of our financial architecture from the time we began the bubble era, approximately 98, 99, 97, 98, to the beginning of what we can now see as the beginning of the post-bubble era, which will unfortunately be fairly long and painful in its making. Now, as I said, I think one of our goals and one of our purposes in the economic growth and one of our purposes in supporting this initiative is that we see the need for a new layer of government-backed, targeted financial institutions for the post-bubble American economy. Institutions that can get capital needed where it's needed most and will have very productive outcomes. So we're going to, under our vision, we're going to see fewer Bear Stearns, fewer Lehman Brothers, fewer IndyMacs, and we're going to see more proposals, more institutions along the lines that are going to be described by Delore and Joel, the Heartland Development Bank, or have been proposed by my colleagues Heidi and Doug Redeker for a national infrastructure bank, which I think their idea is an advancement over some of the bills that have been pending in Congress for the last year. One could also, obviously, an energy development bank, as well as some of these state industrial banks that are beginning to develop. In other words, we're beginning to see and understand that the financial architecture is changing, needs to change. Now, I think the kind of institution the Heartland Development Bank will be would serve two very broad purposes. One, as I said, is to provide capital for the real economy, to get capital where it often hasn't always been willing to go on a long-term patient basis. Even during periods where there's been great liquidity and low interest rates, there's been some parts of the economy which could have provided the demand for usable capital, but for reasons the way Wall Street has operated has not received capital. The other broad purpose, which I'm going to briefly outline here, is the argument that this layer, this new family, this new pillar of financial architecture, these more targeted development bank kinds of financial institutions would make our financial system, our financial architecture stronger and more stable and less subject to the bubbles and financial crisis we've seen over the last 15 to 20 years.